And Travis, I'm going to unmute you, and I'm going to unmute Ethan so that he can introduce you. Travis, I'm just looking for you really quickly. There you are. I found you, and I'm going to unmute you. And then I'm also going to find Ethan. I'm just going to unmute Ethan. And welcome, Travis. Really great to have you here tonight. I'm going to switch over, Travis, if you don't mind. I'll turn my camera on. It just might be much easier and probably more personal if we have the camera. So I'm going to stop sharing and just turn the cameras on. And Travis, I don't know if we have your camera. Can you test your mic, Travis? Maybe just say something. Make sure we've got your mic working.
Yep. Can you guys hear me okay?
Hey, yeah. There he is. Hey, Travis, welcome.
Is my microphone working?
Yep.
It is. Yep, Ethan.
Okay, great.
Great. So, Ethan, if you want to go ahead and welcome our guest and introduce them, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'd love to. Okay. All right. Fantastic. So, guys, Travis here, he is our sponsor from a company, 360Insights. We decided to go abroad from the project and reach into a company that wasn't on the list. And 360Insights was able to take us in, my team. And so basically we went to Travis and he gave us a project of marketing their brand across UIT campus. Now you guys may have heard that we did our survey and our presentations for Travis and 360. But just a little bit about Travis, if you guys want to know. He is a culture creator and basically a culture organizer at 360. Correct me if I say anything out of line here, Travis, but stuff like making sure company values are being met, people's interests are keeping in mind, any company feedback that is internal, and making sure that other needs of individuals in between the company are being met. 360 focuses greatly on their company culture, and they really care about their employees, and some of their biggest quotes of their core values are being caring to others and giving and not taking from others. So Travis kind of oversees that as an organizer and someone you can go to within the company to if you have any problems. And so I'd love to give it away to Travis here, and he can his presentation.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ethan, and thank you, Rob. That's the group chat is going wild with applause. So it's definitely interesting times, and I would always be nice to be with you guys in person. But obviously with the events that are happening right now, this is how we're working as a company. We're now working predominantly remotely, and looks like all your classes are as well. So if you guys have questions, you guys can drop them in the chat there. What I was thinking was covering a little bit about who 360 is and who I am. Just talking about leadership from my experience. So I'm a little bit about myself. I'm a 2008 commerce grad. I've got I just poured this specially. Don't drip on my keyboard. Oh, I don't know if you can see the brand. Oh, check that out. That is my alumni mug. Don't drip that on my keyboard. So okay. I'm Ontario Tech, formerly the artist formerly known as UIT, and always love being able to jump in and connect with students and professors from the class. So it's been over 10 years, 2008. Yes, sounds a bit better. 10 years since I graduated, and I wanted to jump in and just talk a little bit about leadership from my perspective and my experience. So I'm going to share my screen here. Does that mean you stopped seeing my video? I think so. All right, let's see here. Let's share my desktop. There we go. All right, so I think you guys can still see me and my presentation. Maybe Ethan, if you jot down any questions that come in, I won't be watching the chat too much because I don't have that much attention span. It's past my bedtime. So, all right. So 360 Insights is the company I work for. We have moved into an old school in downtown Whitby, RA Senate Public School. And if you guys would like to come by for a visit, I'd be happy to, once the pandemic is over, have humans back in the building for a little tour. Otherwise, it'd be like 6 feet in between all of us and hand sanitizer everywhere. So let's get going to the next slide. All right, so we have won a lot of awards for our culture. We've been on the Great Places to Work top 50 workplaces in Canada for under 1,000 people for the last 8 years in a row. And in April, we'll find out where we place this year again. We're really pumped about that. And that's my family, my dog, my wife, my 2 kids. And I wish that was my backyard, but it is not. Also, I love coffee. I've switched to tea now because it's late, but I love coffee. And if you want to talk about coffee, add me on LinkedIn, and I'd be happy to talk about delicious coffees in the area. It's just my thing. All right. So there's an organization called the Giving Keys, and I usually wear a key around my neck. It's literally a key with a necklace. And the thing that I love about the Giving Keys is the story. And so the whole idea behind Giving Keys, it's a social enterprise, and it's just a key. But the key is hand stamped by someone transitioning out of homelessness. So someone who was living on the street and is trying to change their life around and move into a house. And so the Giving Keys only employs people who are transitioning out of homelessness. And instead of becoming a nonprofit and giving money to the people they want to help, they actually employ the people they want to help so that they can bring sustainable change for that organization. So if you haven't checked them out, you don't know who they are. They're a pretty cool organization. They're out of California. They actually been picked up by Nordstrom's, and they become a bit of a fashion brand, even though all it is a used key that's been hand stamped by someone who was homeless. And the whole idea is they've created this brand, this story about this incredible experience that by getting a key, you're changing a life. And so the thing that I like about that is the power of story. And in my opinion, great leaders are great storytellers. And as you can imagine, what's happening right now with our prime minister, President, Trump, and all of the stuff that's happening around the world. I don't mean storytelling in a PR sense of lying to people, but I mean a storyteller that can bring people on a journey. And I think that a good leader is an incredible storyteller. So on this slide here, you've got on the left-hand side over here, the guy holding the Help People Achieve Their Dreams. The guy's name is Todd Skinner, and he actually passed away 6 years ago on his 40th birthday. Just after his 40th birthday, had a heart attack. And then Jason Atkins on the right is our CEO. And these 2 guys are the original storytellers of 360. Todd was the guy who created this culture. He created the foundation of the culture where we want to be, where values are not just words on a wall, but the values that we have are lived and embodied by our team. A couple of examples that just came up, even since COVID-19. One of our team members on Saturday went downtown Toronto where he lives, and he brought his dog out to the corner, and he had a sign that said, free pet snuggles or something like that. And he had about 50 people stop by and pet his dog and smile at him and thank him for coming out. And he posted it in our Slack channel, and he said, "Hey, I'm being a fountain, not a drain," which is one of our values. And it's this environment that it doesn't just create a values with like an architecture for living within the company, but it starts to overflow in people's lives, in their personal lives. And interestingly enough, it also ties into how we hire. So we don't bring people in and then indoctrinate them with our values and then make them live our values, but we actually create such a compelling story that it attracts people who already have that set of values in their lives, and we want to pull it out of them even more. Or the opposite of that is having a strong set of values or a strong story. It can actually repel people because they're like, I don't want to be a part of that. That's not who I am. And it doesn't mean you have a bad story. There's people who think our culture is dumb. They're like, if I wanted that kind of culture, I'd go work at Walmart. We're like, cool, go work at Walmart, or keep working where you work. And a culture or a product or a brand, a leader will attract people, and will repulse people, because they can't create a spot for everyone to like them, because they have to stand for things and they have to create a culture, which is essentially some sort of culmination of your beliefs, your behaviors, and your actions put to life. So I'm a big believer that leaders are storytellers. And again, I think there's a fine line between telling a compelling, passionate visionary story, and telling people what they want to hear to manipulate. And I think good leaders are able to connect on an empathetic and deep level to tell a story that compels you to want to join them. And I think if you think about different professors you've had, different part-time jobs that you've had, there's some people that you love working with, or you love going to their class. And part of it wouldn't because they're smarter or they're less smart, or you like their hair, like Rob's hair, or whatever it is. But a lot of times it will come down to how you're compelled by the stories how they engage you. And I think that's huge to culture and to stories. And so this is Jason and Todd, and they're our storytellers. And one of the original stories that I heard about 360, I've been with the company now almost 7 years. Just to back up a little bit, when I started, there was 55 employees at 360 in 2012. And today we are about 520 employees internationally. So in 7 years, we've 10 times our employee headcount. We were a $3 million revenue company, and today we're close to $60 million in revenue. So there's been a lot of growth at 360, and we spent a lot of time, as Ethan mentioned when he introduced me. Essentially, I'm the culture curator, but essentially I'm part of the storytelling team, and I get to tell the team the stories that we want to create. And then I help to put the policies in place to back those stories up. So one of the stories that we have is that we want to impact the lives of our team, our clients, and our global communities. And so what I mean by putting the policies in place is an HR policy won't create the story, but it will facilitate the story that you want to tell. And so we value our team. So to reinforce that story, to reinforce that belief, we just implemented a brand new family leave policy that's not just a maternity leave, but it's a paternity leave. There's an adoptive leave. And we've really expanded it from kind of heterosexual, moms and dads to so many more, to make it a much more inclusive policy, because we wanted now the frameworks or the policies to back our story, which is an incredible or unbelievable experience for our team. Okay, so this picture right here is a picture of a well in Rwanda. And the reason why this story and this well is so meaningful to 360 and to me is the first month that 360 made a profit. So 2 years after being founded, most businesses go out of business. But Jason and the 360 team made a profit 2 years after they started. And this was the well they built with that profit. So the very first profit that they built, I'm sure they bought a bottle of champagne and non-alcoholic champagne. And I'm sure that they went out for dinner, but they also took a majority of that profit and they put it into this well, and they built a well in Rwanda through Charity Water. That was in 2010. I interviewed with Jason and Todd in 2012, and they told me this story. And that story is what made me move my family from Ottawa to Whitby. I was living in Ottawa at the time. I grew up in Oshawa, but was living in Ottawa. And hearing that story about how the first thing they did with money they made, they decided to give back. They decided to try to make a difference in the world. And it wasn't just a story, it actually became part of the culture. So 2 years later, when I interviewed with them, it was still part of how they interacted with the community. And now 7 years later, it's still a big part of what we do. And we actually have, we just launched this year employee payroll deduction. So right off my payroll, I'm able to give to an organization and 360 matches it. And so our goal is to raise $150,000 for medical clinics in Haiti. And so we went from building a well in Rwanda to building a system where now it comes directly off employee payroll because it's part of our story. And I just think stories are really powerful because business is business, but the stories that we create, the lives that we change, it adds meaning and value to the lives, to the employees, to our clients. And then along the way, when you think about leadership, we're entering some pretty, uncertain times. If you've heard, Rob talk about VUCA at all, this is VUCA in its finest. And so our stories that we tell aren't going to tell us what to do for the future, but they give us the foundation of how we're going to approach the future. So here's just a quick quote by Tony Hsieh. He is the founder and CEO of Zappos. And he says, the destiny of a person is set by their character, but the destiny of an organization or company is set by the organizational culture. And I think another way you can think about culture is the stories that are told and retold over and over again. Fruit and root of a culture. And just really quickly, when I think about culture, a lot of times you guys might be familiar with Google's culture, and you might think of all of the perks and the free food and all of that stuff. I like to think of that as the fruit of the tree, the fruit of culture, but it's really the root system, which is your values, your integrity, your character, your communication style, all of that happens kind of underneath the scene, which becomes really the foundation of the culture there. So I'll just stop real quick. Does anyone have any questions about that so far? I'm sure there's a bunch of questions coming in there.
There is someone else. If you could go back one slide, Travis.
Sure.
They wanted the quote. Travis, one of the students asked how you make money at 360.
Me personally, or the business?
No, the company. What is the
yeah?
What does the company do to make money? You personally make good coffee, besides a million other things.
Yeah. So that's a great question. So real quick, 360, we sell software. So we're a SaaS company. We're a software as a service. Major organizations, Whirlpool, Samsung, Sony, LG, Mitsubishi, Motorola, they're our clients, and they buy our software to allow them to run channel incentives. So essentially, all of their distribution is done through third party. So they manufacture the product, they advertise the product, but they don't sell the product. So they have to get it to dealers, distributors, sales associates, and they run all sorts of different back-end marketing incentives. And we have a software that allows them to manage all of those very complicated distribution networks that are kind of under the surface. So we don't do like marketing, but we do channel marketing. So we don't do the advertisements, the radio ads, but the channel marketing are the incentives to make sure those other advertisements get done.
Thanks so much. Just want to mention, and I apologize, there's only 100 students here. So I know somebody's recording this. I didn't want to record it because I don't have permission to record it. I didn't realize that my Zoom was limited to only 100 people. So I know that there are some people who want to get in, but to take it up to more than 100 is going to cost about $70. So we're just going to have to go with 100. And there should be enough people from, yeah, I got money. Thanks, Anonymous. There should be enough people here that you can at least help your team to do the analysis. At least should be enough of you. Sorry, Travis, carry on. I just, unfortunate, but we couldn't get all the students to join for some reason.
Yeah, no problem. What was I going to say? So yeah, so we're a software company and we service some of the world's largest brands. And some of the challenges that we face, I think one of the biggest things is when you grow, not only do you have all the external factors and the pressures from clients and board members, but when you grow, you have so much internal change that's happening all the time, and you have new people coming in. So it's one thing to have a small group of people that starts to gel and work together really well. But when you keep growing really fast, you're adding new people with different personalities. And that makes it really, really hard to talk about, makes it really important to focus on the root system of the culture. So what are the frameworks and the values that you want to have, so that as more and more people grow, you're able to align to a common goal, in orientation and all throughout my job, I talk a lot about a compass and a map. So a compass is a lot like our mission statement or our core commitment. And then you have your map, which is like our core values. So a compass doesn't tell you where to go or how to get there. It just tells you where you are. It tells you where north is, and you can use it as a reference point. So a vision or a mission statement is like a compass, and it just helps you come back to know where you are. And a map is much more tactical. It'll tell you elevation. It'll tell you road closures left and right. And so your values are a lot more like a map, and they work with you on how do I interact with my team, with my clients, with our challenges on a day-to-day basis.
Quite a few questions coming in, Travis. I know you have a team that works closely with you. What challenges have you faced leading them? And we're going to do a team interview tonight, but again, and I just checked, that's why I muted my camera a little while ago. I just checked on Zoom if I could add more people. So maybe you want to just answer that question. I know, are your team with you, Travis, or do you want to just go ahead and talk about some of the challenges you face in leading your team?
Sure. So I'm technically on the HR. Traditionally, I'm in the HR department. So I work really closely with the executive team and all of our people leaders. And I think probably one of the biggest challenges is prioritizing and communication. Communication across the board, and whether it's a relationship, a marriage, friendships, group work that you're doing, like communication seems to be one of the biggest challenges, because we're all wired a little bit differently, and what you say isn't what I hear, and what I say isn't what you hear, and all of a sudden, 3 people are going to take different things away from this presentation. All of you are going to take, different things away. So communication is really big, especially because you start to have people's own priorities come into that. And the other thing is priorities. So I'm really focused on employee engagement, employee experience. And then one of our other team members is focused on benefits and payroll. And then someone else is like on the risk and compliance and the legal side. And so what I think is really important from an experience perspective, the legal person is going, yeah, there's too much risk. And so being able to align around priorities and have that give and take. And one of the things that we just did this year was we hired a VP of people and culture. So I hired myself a boss for our team, and she works closely with the executive team. And that's been really helpful, because it's helped streamline our priorities and help us with our communication. So that's been a really, really big thing to bring a very senior member to our team. And then I see lots around team motivated. On the team that we are in, I say part of the thing that keeps our team motivated. So there's a question that says, how do you keep your team motivated? Almost anybody that you ask that's in a senior role at 360, if you ask them why they are at 360, they'll tell you that they're there because of Jason. Jason's our CEO. He's got an incredible vision. He's very passionate about making a difference, about creating a great company. So the story that he's told and that he creates is really compelling, I would say, for a lot of people within the organization. People say, oh, it's stressful, it's this and that, but I stay because of Jason's vision. So that's a big part of it. And the other thing that we do, like on the flip side of it, is we do a lot of things to connect people. So we started something called employee-led clubs. So instead of doing a corporate outing where we spend a whole bunch of money and try to get everyone to participate, we broke it down and we kind of distributed authority, so to speak. And we said, hey, if you have something that you love to do or want to try, all you need to do is get 4 other people together, and we'll give you $10 per person per month to do that thing, as long as it's not illegal or hurting anybody. So we have a craft club, we have a scrapbook club, we have a euchre club, we have a poker club, there's a whiskey club. Like there's all of these clubs. There's a ping pong club, there's a squash club, and they get together and they do whatever they want to do. And the reason we do that isn't because we want to find creative ways to spend money. It's actually pretty low cost overall. They do that. We do that because we want to engage people with their passion. So people, passion, and then other people. So we're actually connecting people who would never normally meet in their day-to-day work, but they love playing poker. And so there's 10 of them that go play poker, and you have the CEO, a junior level call center employee, and they play poker for 4 hours together, and they get to know each other as people. And it's led to promotions and, collaboration and just different perspective, because we're connecting people. At the end of the day, an organization, whether you are remote, even why I want to make sure the camera was on today, so that we could connect, because relationships are so key to an organization's success. So everything we do is driven with the purpose of connecting people. The other thing we do is we split the entire organization to into houses like Harry Potter. So there's green, red, yellow, and blue. And when you start at 360, you get assigned a color, and it allows you to connect with people you wouldn't normally connect with. It's not really part of your job. It doesn't make you do your job any better, but it's just another connection point to people you might not connect with.
Awesome.
So I want to be sensitive. I know we're close to time, Rob. So I see tons of questions coming in, and
big one. Can I throw? There's quite a few of them, Travis. If I can just jump in, have asked how to become an intern, or do you need interns? I know Ethan mentioned it. I just want to say Ethan's done a phenomenal job in representing 360, both in the course and on the campus. But I know that's a question that keeps recurring.
Yeah, that's a great question. So short answer is we do. We don't take very many. Software development interns are probably the biggest kind of need that we have, or that we hire for, probably 4 or 5 a year, or a semester, 3 to 5 a semester on the software side. But I'd say if you're interested, definitely check the board. Check our job board, check 360insights.com, and by all means, reach out to me on LinkedIn. We don't have a ton of internships outside of our software development space right now, but there's so much change that we will definitely be opening that up as we grow. We do have a pretty big finance and accounting team as well. Just real quick, someone asked about personality type, and I think one thing I'd like to call out just real quick is that culture and personality, although you would think by the way I describe it and maybe the way I represent it, that it would be a lot of outgoing people at our organization. And I'd say probably 60% of our team is introverts, or has a very introverted bent to them. And I think the thing about culture is much less about personality and a lot more about beliefs. So you can be really extroverted, but it's like having that foundational values that determine kind of your fit more than your personality. And I see that someone asked about the slides. So Mark, I think Marcus posted that. Rob, I can send those over to you so that you can share them around. And there's some other things that I didn't cover that are in there.
That'd be great.
That the team can look at.
That'd be awesome. Thanks so much, Travis. So I want to be sensitive to the time. I wish that we'd had time to go through your spreadsheet on how you map culture throughout the year and all of the phenomenal ways in which you think through culture.
Yeah.
But Travis, it's been awesome to have you. Always awesome to have you. I wish we could have got you earlier to spend time with us. We'll post your slides. And again, just to mention to everyone, you did mention it. I mention it to students all the time, but please reach out to Travis on LinkedIn. It's such a great way to connect. You might not, reach out to him for a year or 2 or 3, but at some point, it's just a great way to stay connected, to stay watching, where people are going, what they're doing. And so Travis, I think, is really sincere when he says connect with him on LinkedIn. I think we're connected on LinkedIn as well. So that's awesome. Travis, as always, just so great to have you. It's so great to have a OnTech U alum. And we just appreciate the time you invested for us tonight. So thanks so much, hey.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
See ya.
See ya.
Thanks, everyone. Stay in touch. Reach out to me if you have any questions about your assignments. And this is our last session together. And you have a week to complete your guest speaker analysis. Have a great evening, everyone. Stay safe. Stay well.